Hello and welcome to another video from me, this tutor. This time we're looking at the 1950s boom for the America topic 1920 to 1973 for AQA. And we're going to look at the in what ways question, which is question 5 on the exam paper. Okay, so here's the question, and it says, in what ways did the post-World War II consumer boom change life for Americans in the 1950s? So we're going to get straight in with this question. Use your revision guide pages on 1950s consumerism and life in the 1950s, and maybe even some of the ideas about World War II to start thinking about how there was an economic boom and how this changed people's lives. So list some ideas of examples of the economic booms, maybe consumer goods, maybe car ownership, maybe things people are buying for their homes, like big items, like you might say comparison goods like fridges, freezers, etc. Then start thinking about how they change people's lives. So normal everyday people, but also you could think about women or Black Americans or even Native Americans. Start thinking about how it's changed people's lives. Okay, so pause me now and start thinking about some ideas. Okay, so what I've gone for are the examples of the consumer boom. They're buying lots of things. So 9% of homes had a TV, 80% had cars, 70% had washing machines. So lots of things being bought in there. And that has changed people's lives because people are buying things, and this is leading to people having much higher wages, much more wealth. So we talk about the boom led to higher wages. There's more wealth. We've got the fair deal of Truman increased wages from 40 cents to 75 cents. So everyone is sharing in the wealth that's been created in America to a more extent than maybe in the past. This meant women could stay in work as well. So obviously 19 million women were employed during the Second World War, but 18.5 million were still in work. So there isn't this idea that's necessarily purported that women all drop out of work. Actually, a lot of women go back into work because people are buying lots of things, there's lots of jobs available. So secondly, I've gone for car ownership and how this changes people's lives. 75 million vehicles on the road. So this means that people can have a slightly different lifestyle. So suburbs develop where people can drive to shopping malls or drive to work. So particularly we've got this idea of the sort of white flight out of the town centres into the suburbs. They've got a nice Levitt townhouses with nice little picket fences and garages, and they drive around everywhere. This does mean women maybe have more of a homemaker lifestyle. The expectation on women is to be at home in these lovely houses, bringing up the kids, having a beautiful house. And it does also mean inner cities are sort of abandoned to some extent by the latest shopping centres and shopping malls, and they become less good quality life. So the migrant groups tend to live more in inner cities, and the quality of life drops. And there's a lot more maybe poverty developing in inner cities. Okay, so we've got some real detailed ideas we talked about in other videos, making sure we are analysing by talking about different groups of people, different places. So this plan should give us lots of ideas for a really detailed response. So we're still doing our peel paragraphs. So we respond to the question and introduce our point, and then we want to argue that point throughout our paragraph. So one way the post-war consensus changed people's lives was that it led to more wealth, perhaps. For example, back that with some evidence about the boom, and then this changed people's lives because then go into depth about how people's lives are changing. Furthermore, go maybe into depth about a particular group of people, a particular place you can delve into detail with. Okay, so now let's start your answers. Hopefully your plan is ready. You don't have to follow mine. You might have a very, very good plan as well. So follow yours if you like and try and argue your case. So one way the post-war consumer boom changed people's lives was, okay, give your argument now. Pause me and write the first bit of your answer. Okay. So maybe check yours against mine, and how have you done? So I've said one way that the post-war consensus changed people's lives was it led to an increase in wages and better living standards. So people's lives are getting better. Okay, that's what I've gone for. You might have gone for something slightly different, but we need to back it up with an example about the boom now. So so pause me now and go for it. Okay, so here's what I've gone for. So I've said, for example, by the late 1950s, 9% of homes had a TV, 80% had cars, and 7% had washing machines. So the example I used in my plan. Okay, so now we need to make sure you've got some good facts in yours as well. So if you haven't, maybe just make sure you've got 1 or 2 facts and keywords. Now we're going to go on to think about how this changed people's lives. So thinking about maybe a group of people or just wider America, how it changes things? What's the first way it changes people's lives? Your idea. Okay, let's explain the impact now. So pause and away you go. Okay, so I've gone for this changed people's lives because the boom led to higher wages. A fair deal for workers increased minimum wage from 70 cents to 75 cents. Now that's pretty much what I've said in my plans. I need maybe a little bit of explanation here. So I said this alongside HP meant people could buy more of the cheap goods and make their lives easier at home, to make their lives even better. HP is higher purchase. You can write HP just for that. They won't get confused with, like, a tomato sauce or anything. They'll know that's higher purchase. Okay, so now we want furthermore. Let's go on to say maybe a more in-depth idea. Maybe pick a group of people and explain in depth. Okay, so pause me now. See if you can highlight a particular group and be more analytical in your thoughts. Okay, so I've gone for talking about women. So furthermore, the boom in the factories and the increase in time-saving devices in the home meant women could remain in work. Over 18.5 million when working in the 1950s. This is a big change. It's only slightly less than 19 million during the Second World War. So these time-saving devices have helped women stay in work. Okay, so I've talked you through the first paragraph. Now have a go at the second one on your own, following your plan. I've put mine on the screen. If you want to use mine, go for it. Try to be 5 minutes in this. Try to be really quick and timely, but also in detail with lots of good content. So pause me now, go for it, and then have a look at the example answer afterwards. Okay, so here's my example answer. So another way the post-war consensus boom changed people's lives was that people started to move out of the towns. Okay, for example, the increase in car ownership to 75 million led to people having more mobile lifestyles. This changed people's lives because of the town shopping malls and entertainment areas developed as people could drive and park at these places. This led to more jobs in suburbs and a decline in the inner city. Furthermore, more middle-class white families moved to suburbs. This was called white flight, as they moved to find better homes and facilities away from the busy town centres. This meant that minority groups like Black Americans were left living in the inner cities with poor facilities and more poverty. Okay, so hopefully that's, you can see how that's quite a nice idea to explain. You could talk about more holidays and more moving around, driving off to holidays and things like that might be a useful thing to talk about as well. Okay, well, I hope you did well with that answer. You were able to talk about the boom and then give impacts of it and explain your answer really successfully. So keep working hard, keep preparing for your exams successfully, and look at more of my videos, and we'll get you to some really high grades in your final exams. Okay, bye bye for now.